Okay. Yeah, we're zoomed in. So it looks like we're starting with Chaz today. He says, "Hey guys, thanks for answering my question last week. I have another and not hypothetical. I'm building out a site at the moment. The subject or main keyword is like Google, and I'm targeting a product subtopic, but a very original specific name given to a certain product line that is related to the brand. For the sake of this question, I'll call it F Google. My question is in regards to subdomains. Would it be beneficial to make a subdomain, for example, google.branddomain.com/fgoogle? I know I can make a subfolder for Google, but I'm thinking of keeping the hops to a minimal. From what I've been told in Jeffery Smith's SEO Bootcamp course, Google reads and takes keywords furthest left priority per se. By the way, a great course for you guys have recommended for the last few years. So he's talking about Jeffery Smith's SEO Bootcamp, which is a fabulous course. And that is a question that I honestly am not sure how to answer. Marco, that is definitely one for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's looking to do, because why a subdomain with somebody else's brand? Was that what he's saying? Because you can just go subfolder if what you're looking is for power, and to avoid additional hops, instead of being in the subdomain, just move it into a subfolder.
Okay.
So to me, that's a misinterpretation of what Jeffrey Smith is teaching, because he's thinking that the URL structure should keep I see what he means now. Should keep that subdomain name to the left, since that includes the keyword. But no, proper URL structure would be your brand and then the subfolder.
Yeah. So
that's what the bot understands, right?
So the way and just to kind of reiterate what you said, but maybe in a different way. And I would agree that I would rather have my brand name first, so root domain, and then in this example, Google as the primary topic or category, and then F Google as a subcategory. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question.
Category, or he can even, insert which is, if you don't want to go subdomain, if you want to bring the something like a subdomain to the root domain, then what you do is you install a subfolder. But again, yes, you're right. You don't need that. What you need is simply a category that's titled F Google, and work from there, the top level category, and try to rank that. And you're going to see that you start ranking for all the low hanging fruit when you try to deliver all that power to that top level category. Yep.
Yeah, because the way he's got this, it's almost like it's two different sites. There's the brand, because he's talking about installing it on a subfolder. Yes. Or a subdomain. So that would be like a separate site. So I'm not sure what the configuration, why you would do that. But what Marco is saying is that it's better to go as a subfolder than it is a subdomain. And years ago, we taught, that, and I did it myself. I used to always use subdomains for just about everything. So for example, for a multi-location, local business or lead generation, whatever, I would have the root domain, but then for each additional location, so each additional GMB location, essentially, I would have a subdomain that was named after that city. So it would be city.branddomain.com. And I would have separate WordPress installs for each one. And that, that worked in part because Google would treat a subdomain as a standalone domain, as opposed to, like, so for example, if any one of the locations were to catch a penalty, it wouldn't affect the other locations and it wouldn't affect the root domain. Whereas if we had put them on subfolders, so they each had, or just built one site and then did everything through categories and perhaps tags, which is the way that I do it now, then if any one of those locations were to catch a penalty, then it would affect the root, because it was all built on the root domain, if that makes sense. So I used to segregate or separate everything, keep them separate for that reason. But over the years now, since really Marco started developing like the entity-based SEO and semantic web SEO and all that kind of stuff, I haven't had any problems with any of my locations. So I stopped doing subdomains and started building everything out now on just the root domain and using standard category taxonomy and tags now for location silos. And I do all that on the root domain, as opposed to having multiple subdomains or multiple subfolders. And it just makes it so much easier to manage a brand. and multiple location projects. So I'm just speaking on that because I think it's similar in what it is that you're doing. If you use the types of methods that we've been teaching, you shouldn't have to worry about catching a penalty to your root domain at all. So it's better for SEO to do, and also easier to manage if you can keep it all under one WordPress install. But if you needed a second WordPress install, then it's recommended now, correct me if I'm wrong, Marco, but to do that as a subfolder as opposed to a subdomain. Is that correct?
We got subfolders. People have to understand, even dub dot is a subdomain or whatever. Dub, you've seen a dub, however many dubs you want. Dub 3, dub 2. They're all subdomains. The root is anything after the dot. And so if you want to power up the root, yeah, we go into subdomains and you install, not subdomains, excuse me, but subfolders, and install as many as you want, because you are not going to smash those subfolders, and not like we used to, not like how we used to beat up the subdomains, where we did it that way because we'd expect to catch a penalty and then we could just disconnect that subdomain. But I mean, we protect the money site so much that it isn't necessary anymore, like you said. I mean, that's what we look to do now, because we see the power that the drive stacks have with the expansions, right? We've seen the power that develops over time. And so from seeing that, we understand that installing everything on the root domain is where all the power should accrue, so that you can deliver it any way you want.